Morning and welcome to the Knowing Show. I am your host, Christine Marie. Y'all, happy 136th day of the year. For those of you who are new to the Knowing Show, we discuss all things human intelligence, the intellectual intelligence, emotional intelligence, spiritual and physical intelligence. In an age of obsession with artificial intelligence, this has never been more important, especially as more and more people are losing their jobs. They are sitting alone with themselves, and man, I hope that they can enjoy and love who they're alone with. So many times I think that was actually what part of what made COVID so hard was isolation from others and just this alone time. And we haven't done the work. We haven't done the work to cultivate who we are, to understand who we are, to know how to do that. And even honestly, even in school, when we look at the education and the programs being offered to us, primarily here in the US, but I can only imagine other places as well, there is a severe lack of honor to the other intelligences. We reserve spirituality for Sundays. We reserve physicality for that half an hour, 1 hour at the gym. And then the intellectual intelligence is really the thing that we've spent so many decades and even millennia for so many ways, or a century, I guess, because I really think that with the Industrial Revolution, we saw such a drastic difference when this new education system came into being. It kind of replaced this hierarchical structure where there was value for the cultivation of the home and there was value for the cultivation of the inner self. I mean, look at the greatest philosophers, the greatest artists. They came from this value system in the culture around them that had high regard for these individuals who thought different, who created something that was truly genuine. And now creation is really only honored for those who are making top technological advancements. And so we here on the Knowing Show, we have a different value system. It's yes, the intellect and emotional intelligence, spiritual and physical intelligence, because in that we are encompassing the entire human being. And that's the goal. That's the goal, is that on the other side of knowing is this ability to walk in freedom. And then that freedom leads to creation. It allows for the zone of genius that may be yours to be honored and cherished and cultivated, regardless of what society says. In fact, in so many ways, we talk about what does it mean to live countercultural. And so with that, I am so happy for you to join us this morning. We are going to be reading through A Course in Miracles in the mornings at 9 a.m. every day, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. We go through this daily lesson. And sometimes we'll have an evening show. And for that, I welcome you to join us. If you subscribe, you can just see when the next show is based on the scheduled events. So with that, I'm excited to dive into lesson 136. Before we do, I'm going to just give a bit of preamble with some of the previous lessons, and then we'll go ahead and jump in. Lesson 100. My part is essential to God's plan for salvation. Lesson 101, God's will for me is perfect happiness. Lesson 102, I share God's will for happiness for me. Lesson 103, God being love is also happiness. Lesson 104, I seek but what belongs to me in truth. Lesson 105, God's peace and joy are mine. Lesson 106, let me be still and listen to the truth. Lesson 107, truth will correct all errors in my mind. Lesson 108, to give and to receive are one in truth. Lesson 109, I rest in God. Lesson 110, I am as God created me. Lesson 121, forgiveness is the key to happiness. Lesson 122, forgiveness offers everything I want. Lesson 123, I thank my Father for his gifts to me. Lesson 124, let me remember I am one with God. Lesson 125, in quiet, I receive God's word today. Lesson 126, all that I give is given to myself. Lesson 127, there is no love but God's. Lesson 128, the world I see holds nothing I want. Lesson 129, beyond this world, there is a world I want. Lesson 130, it is impossible to see two worlds. Lesson 131, no one can fail who seeks to reach the truth. Lesson 132, I loose the world from all I thought it was. Lesson 133, I will not value what is valueless. Lesson 134, let me perceive forgiveness as it is. Lesson 135, if I defend myself, I am attacked. Lesson 136, today's lesson. Sickness is a defense against the truth. No one can heal unless he understands what purpose sickness seems to serve. For when he understands this, as well as its purpose, has no meaning. Being causeless and without a meaningful intent of any kind, it cannot be at all. When this is seen, healing is automatic. It dispels this meaningless illusion by the same approach that carries all of them to truth and merely leaves them there to disappear. Sickness is not an accident. Like all defenses, it is an insane device for self-deception. And like all the rest, its purpose is to hide reality, attack it, change it, render it inept, distort it, twist it, or reduce it to a pile of unassembled parts. The aim of all defenses is to keep the truth from being whole. The parts are seen as if one were whole within itself. Defenses are not unintentional, nor are they made without awareness. They are secret. Magic wands you wave when truth appears to threaten what you would believe. They seem to be unconscious, but because of the rapidity with which you choose to use them, in that second, even less, in which the choice is made, you recognize exactly what you would attempt to do, and then proceed to do that it is done, to think that it is done. Who but yourself evaluates a threat, decides escape is necessary, and sets up a series of defenses to reduce the threat that has been judged as real? All this cannot be done unconsciously, but afterwards, your plan requires that you must forget you made it. So it seems to be external to your own intent, a happening beyond your state of mind, an outcome with a real effect on you instead of one affected by yourself. It is this quick forgetting of the part you play in making your own reality that makes defenses seem to be beyond your own control. But what you have forgot can be remembered, given willingness to reconsider the decision, which is doubly shielded by oblivion. Your not remembering is but the sign that this decision still remains in force as far as your desires are concerned. Mistake not this for fact. Defenses must make facts unrecognizable. They aim at doing this, and it is this they do. Every defense makes fragments of the whole, assembles them without regard to their true relationships, and thus contradicts illusions or constructs illusions of a whole that is not there. It is this process that imposes threat and not whatever outcome may result. What parts are wrested When parts are wrested from the whole and seen as separate and whole within themselves, they become symbols standing for attack upon the whole, successful in effect, and never to be seen as whole again. And yet you have forgotten that they stand but your own decision of what should be real and to take the place of what is real. Sickness is a decision. It is not a thing that happens to you, quite unsought, which makes you weak and makes you suffering. It is a choice you make, a plan you lay, when for an instant truth arises in your own deluded mind, and all your world appears to totter and prepare to fall. Now you are sick. The truth may go away and threaten your establishments no more. How do you think that sickness can succeed in shielding you from truth? Because it proves the body is not separate from you, and so you must be separate from the truth. You suffer pain because the body does, and it is this pain you are made one with. Thus is your true identity preserved, and the strange haunting thought that you might be something beyond this little pile of dust, silenced and stilled. For see, this dust can make you suffer, twist your limbs and stop your heart, commanding you to die and cease to be. Thus is this body stronger than the truth, which asks you to live, but cannot overcome your choice to die. And so the body is more powerful than everlasting life, heaven more frail than hell, and God's design for the salvation of his son opposed by a desire stronger than his will. His son is dust, the Father incomplete, and chaos sits in triumph on his throne. Such is your planning for your own defense. And you believe that heaven quails before such mad attacks as this. With God made blind by your illusions, truth turned into lies, and all the universe made slave to laws which your defense would impose on it. Yet who believes illusions but the one who made them up? Who else can see them and react to them as if they were truth? God knows not of your plans to change his will. The universe remains unheeding of the laws by which you thought to govern it, and heaven has not bowed to hell, nor earth to nor life to death. You can but choose to think you die, or suffer sickness, or distort the truth in any way. What is created is apart from all of this. Defense are plans to defeat what cannot be attacked. What is unalterable cannot change, and what is wholly sinless cannot sin. Such is the simple truth. It does not make appeal to might nor triumph. It does not command obedience nor seek to prove how pitiful and futile your attempts to plan defenses would alter it. Truth merely wants to give you happiness, for such its purpose is. Perhaps it sighs a little when you throw away its gifts, and yet it knows with perfect certainty that what God wills for you must be received. It is this fact that demonstrates that time is an illusion. For time lets you think that what God has given you is not the truth right now, as it must be. The thoughts of God are quite apart from truth. For time is but another meaningless defense you made against the truth. Yet what he wills is here, and you remain as he created you. Truth has a power far beyond defense, for no illusions can remain where truth has been allowed to enter. And it comes to any mind that would lay down its arms and cease to play with folly. It is found at any time today, if you will choose to practice giving welcome to the truth. This is our aim. And we will give a quarter of an hour twice to ask the truth to come to us and set us free. And truth will come, for it has never been apart from us. It merely waits for just this invitation which we give today. We introduce it with a healing prayer to help us rise above defensiveness and let truth be as it always has been. Sickness is a defense against the truth. I will accept the truth of what I am and let my mind be wholly healed today. Healing will flash across your open mind as peace and truth arise to take the place of war and vain imaginings. There will be no dark corners sickness can conceal and keep defended from the light of truth. There will be no dim figures from your dreams, nor their obscure, meaningless pursuits with double purposes insanely sought. Remaining in your mind, it will be healed of all the sickly wishes that it tried to authorize the body to obey. Now is the body healed because the source of sickness has been opened to relief, and you will recognize you practice well by this. The body should not feel at all. If you have been successful, there will be no sense of ill feeling or feeling well or of pain or pleasure. No response at all is in the mind to what the body does. Its usefulness remains and nothing more. Perhaps you do not realize that this removes the limits you had placed upon the body by the purposes you gave it. As these are laid aside, the strength of the body will always be enough to serve all truly useful purposes. The body's health is fully guaranteed because it is not limited by time, by weather, or fatigue, by food and drink, or any laws you made it serve before. You need do nothing now to make it well, for sickness has become impossible. Yet this protection needs to be preserved by careful watching. If you let your mind harbor attack thoughts, yield to judgment, or make plans against uncertainties to come, you have again misplaced yourself and made a bodily identity which will attack the body, and the mind is sick. Give instant remedy should this occur by not allowing your defensiveness to hurt you longer. Do not be confused about what must be healed, but tell yourself, I have forgotten what I really am, for I mistook my body for myself. Sickness is a defense against the truth, but I am not a body, and my mind cannot attack, so I cannot be sick. Wow. Well, I want to actually just share something that someone told me one time. I was actually in. Um, I really appreciate relationships where I will pay either coaches or mentors, counselors, and they have been so incredibly helpful throughout my life. And one particular counselor, I was talking with her, and she was sharing about effectively attachment to your body, and she gave this example where she was like, I had really been, she had this long hair down to her waist. And she said that she had basically been becoming, and this is, y'all, it sounds so silly, yet this was told to me 2 years ago. And I think I'm really just now starting to understand it. So hopefully it won't take you as long as me. She had really been starting to become attached to her hair, like really kind of proud of it. Like it was the thing everybody complimented. It was the thing everybody knew her by. They would see the back of her head and her long hair and be like, oh, that must be her. And there was just this part of her identity that was attached to her hair on a very subconscious level. Yet she was starting to become aware, like, oh, I really, really love my hair and I'm proud of it. She goes to a hair salon, and it's rated so well. And she goes in to get her hair done. And this woman, she picks her color. And she's had her hair up in foils for, 60 minutes or so, 45 minutes or so. And then it comes out, she washes it. And the woman is, she has a reaction when she takes out the foils. And the woman just proceeds to dry her hair. Like she doesn't, give any warning. And she ends up walking out of the salon with orange hair, like long down to her waist, bright orange, given time, and the stylist couldn't change it. And you have to let it set for a number of days and all this stuff. And it was in that moment when she really was like, man, I've kind of known that I'd been becoming attached to my hair. And then when this happened, it was kind of like this little wake up call of, man, my hair cannot be my identity, because one, look at this. And two, if our identity and our worth is placed in something as fragile as our body or our hair, man, it's going to, as we age, as we maybe get injured, as we limit ourselves. That's, I think, she actually didn't talk about this here, but I'm curious if she will in the next lesson or two. Y'all, we fundamentally limit ourselves to the physicality of this body and to time in and of itself if we say we are this physical self. Man, but if you cut somebody open to do heart surgery, you don't find them. And so this concept of, am I my body? More and more over the last couple of weeks, I'll wash my face or look in the mirror, and I just am like, you know what? That's not Christine. Christine's here inside. And y'all, this is really, really important, because we will place so much value on our external self in what we do, in our actions, what we contribute to the world around us, all of which is important. Yet we've placed our value and our meaning and our worth, and that the external becomes the capital T truth rather than the capital T truth that God assigned for the world. And we stop living in the hierarchical structure of moral superordinate principles at the pinnacle. Rather, the superordinate principle becomes our body. It becomes time. It becomes something that is tangible, something that is going to die, rather than something that is eternal. And that which is eternal has endless value, and it lives beyond time. So it allows for us, oh, this is so cool, guys. It allows for us to then create something that is eternal, that withstands time. I think about just here, I've been at this conference in LA, the National Association of Women in Construction. Man, it is all over the US. And this group was started in, I think, 1958 by 12 ladies. Y'all, that has effectively been withstanding the test of time. Think if we were able to create something that really, truly had that level of impact, much more so if we were able to impact the souls and spirits of those around us, which have eternal value. all of a sudden, if we remove our affection and value from that which is seen and place it on that which is unseen, now we are making eternal impact forever. And it could be, I really feel called, and my life, I actually really feel like I'm supposed to teach people how to be good fathers. That might be your calling. Maybe your calling and the thing you feel passionate about is, I really feel called to be in the education system and teach people who they can be, to live in the fullness of their potential, to walk in and create something truly unique from everyone else, and learn how to disassociate their value from what they do and rather who they are. Because here's the thing, what we are and what we do is simply a reflection of who we are. So the grandeur of the physical external world, so often, if we're doing it in right succession and in right order, that will be a reflection. That external impact will be a reflection of the internal impact of our own self and the work that we've done. That's kind of how it works when it flows in and then flows out. You shall know a tree by its fruit is actually a biblical concept that I just so respect. And so this aspect of, are we limiting ourselves to just the physical, valuing ourselves and having that be the nucleus, rather than the nucleus be, who was I, mind, body, soul, spirit? Yes, my body is a part of that, but it is not that alone. In fact, that is the thing that is going to die. The spirit and soul are eternal and everlasting. So what is the nucleus? Where is my hierarchical system based? What is at the pinnacle? What is the defining value of success in my life? What is the defining value of my worth and my identity? What is it tied to? Because here's the thing, if we view ourselves as that fragile, of I am subservient to this physical body, there's no way that we can actually teach our body and tell our body to be well. And y'all, I've actually experienced that. I had a headache one time and I was like, you know what? I'm going to decide not to give into this headache and not let this headache ruin my day. And I took a couple deep breaths, drank some water, and I just said a quick prayer, and my headache went away. So much of our body and so much of our external life is, it obeys us in so many ways. It's in subservience to us. I've heard of people who have had cancer and they have taken control of their body, and they have used the power of thought, used the power of words. Y'all, it's really true. I'm reading a book right now called Supernatural, and it's by Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he has so much scientific data to back up what he has come to learn, that what you think about has the ability to heal you. He has seen it happen for thousands of people at this point, and scientists and researchers from all across the globe are starting to fly in and be like, what is going on? How is this possible? Y'all, this is a different way of living. It's a different way of thinking. It's a fundamental different belief system when we have someone else other than Big Pharma, or somebody else other than our past at the hierarchy of our values. Who is at the top for you? What do you believe? Because every decision, every single thought, every single action is predicated in a belief system. And y'all, the reason why we must talk about this is because the more we're aware of it, the more we can change it. If we're not aware, there is no hope of changing. And so this is kind of the work that we do in the mornings specifically, is to remind ourselves of what's more true than even this physical world around us. We're not victims. We get to be co-creators with the ultimate creator and change the way that we show up in the world, change the world around us in so many ways. I went for a run last week, and I decided I'm going to make this a beautiful run. And it was so wonderful. I was running and I was just like, I'm bored, like truly. And I decided I want to make this magical, because we have the ability to make the ordinary moments of our lives really, really beautiful if we were to wake up and become aware and live with intention, rather than living in subservience to what's going on in the world around us. I want to scroll up to a section here. Every defense takes fragments of the whole, assembles them without regard to all their true relationships, and thus constructs illusions of a whole that is not there. It is this process that imposes threat, not whatever outcome may result. Y'all, I think that that's so important. Where are we deriving threats from? Who are we giving more power than us to say, you are now a threat to me because I'm weak and I can't confront you? We are assigning power to whatever we deem outside of us that is a threat. And us building defenses and thus living behind these ironclad gates are the very thing that's preventing the love and connection that we want. And so, man, if we are allowing for the disillusion, the illusions to come in and become more real than the truth. So the truth, the capital T truth, who does God say that I am? Whose do I belong to? Who am I and why am I here? Knowing those three things, who I am, whose I am, and why I am. Those three truths are the very thing that allow for us to hear like an attack coming at us from out there, and it doesn't even look like an attack because we know so well who we are. It becomes an attack when we allow it to come into our mind, when we allow it to start being the thing we meditate on, when we allow it to start making an impact. Then it becomes an attack. So it says it is this process that imposes threat, not whatever outcome may result. So it is the very thing of me actually allowing that attack to come in that thus it becomes an attack. So if somebody says something cruel, I honestly, I've got a lot of times I get cruel comments on YouTube. Like they can be very horrible sometimes. Sometimes they're just annoying, but sometimes they're very cruel. If I am not confident in who I am, whose I am, and why I am, that becomes an attack because I have let it in and allowed it to be so. Otherwise, it's just, look at that. Look at that silly comment. No big deal. It doesn't affect me. It's not an attack. But my hackles rise, my defenses come on. I start now closing the ironclad gate when I am not in a mentally, spiritually, emotionally strong place, and I allow for something to become an attack. It is our choice over whether the words of others, the actions of others will become an attack on us. We get to choose that. It is the process of this taking in and of the distortion of the truth that we allow that is the threat in and of itself. We are proving to our body that our mind is not strong enough to handle that attack. And so therefore we ultimately are attacking ourselves because we are not committed to the truth. Y'all, this is huge because we spend so much time pointing the finger and blaming everyone around us when in reality, we have the opportunity to simply resist that attack in the first place and thus not attack ourselves. I just, man, if we really believed this, how much more freedom in our mind would we experience? How much more freedom in our body would we experience to believe the truth? To know the truth, to believe the truth, and to train our minds to, just be aware. Oh, that's not the truth. I'm not even going to entertain it. We've been talking this week over some thoughts require yes. If it comes up of our own regard, it's like, okay, that's worth investigating. That's worth considering. And so I actually need to go and trace the roots of this thought and heal the genesis of it. A lot of times there's thoughts that we hold that are based in belief systems that had experiences tied to it that need to be healed. But sometimes there are kind of these external concepts or words or narratives or thoughts that are given to us. And then in that moment, we can take it and say, oh, no, that's actually not at all who I am. That's not whose I am. That's not why I am. I'm going to say no, absolutely. And therefore, I resist and avoid the attack. Truth is now my protection rather than this ironclad gate that prevents everyone and everything. But in that iron gate closing, we're not just protecting ourselves to the extent where we now are pushing away relationships. Ultimately, we are pushing away the truth. Because if we were resting in the truth, we would not ever need that defense in the first place. Truth is our defense. We do not have to self-perpetuate armor to protect ourselves. Because, man, if we're strong mentally, if we're strong spiritually, emotionally, physically, we can withstand. Truth in and of itself has the ability to weed through the lies and just completely dismantle it. Truth dismantles lies. Shutting down, suppressing and trying not to be vulnerable does not protect against those lies. It really won't work. And so, are we able to be our own defense? Just jumping here in the chat. Ernest, good morning from Washington State. Good to see you. Rob Vine, I'm glad to see you. Malik, good morning. Oh, Rob Vine, wow. I'm so glad. Thank you. Thank you for joining. I'm so glad to see you. Dan, aka Brad Pitt, good morning. Wayne, I'm glad to see you. The truth will set you free. Good morning. See, I love that you said that. Guys, this is why we need each other. The truth will set you free. Of all the opportunities to defend ourselves, to protect ourselves, it is the truth that sets us free. Wayne, I love you, my friend. I'm so glad. Thank you for saying that. My identity is placed somewhat in body and face. That hits hard. Me too. It's like an ever-going attempt to move away from that and have my identity rest in actually that capital T truth. Who was I created to be? Comic Flick Fusion. Wow, this is so beautifully stated. Paint the art with your spirit and wisdom. Thank you. I'm so glad to see you. Wayne says, I had dreadlocks for 10 to 12 years. They were down past my waist. I took out a new identity and cut my hair and shaved my beard. Oh my gosh. That must have been such a big deal. Such a big change for you. Oh my gosh. Dan says, yeah, I bet. Nomad, good morning. Laser. Oh. All right. Laser, you are not being kind, my friend. I would love for you to stick around, but we just don't talk like this here. Scrolling down. Dan, I agree with you. I think that there's something so important about really choosing what is the lens through which I'm going to view the world and then abiding by that. But so often the lens and the way that we see it's preset for us based on our experience, based on what was modeled for us, based on what we were taught. And so we're operating in this very childlike way in so many times. Like I felt like the majority of my 20s, I just had this very young and frankly kind of immature mindset around the world. It really was like this little girl trying to navigate in a 20-year-old's body because none of my programs, it's like a computer program. We've got these internal programs and they're wiring and directing the way that we make decisions based on how everything's connected. You know, this philosopher, I think he's a modern day philosopher, but psychologist also, he said, we're all nodes in a network. And when we kind of start thinking that way, it's really profound the amount of actions, decisions, behaviors we take based in belief systems that were established by our 10-year-old self. And when that happens, then when these belief systems start getting pulled into questioning by our own self, it's like, oh, is this belief system even helpful for me? Now we actually aren't judging it because we have a real understanding. You know, it says the definition of emotional intelligence is to be aware of, understand, and then control and convey one's own emotions. If I want to be aware of these belief systems, it's actually so important that I understand why they're there. And then, only then can we start to really control them and maybe even change them and then convey to those around us. You know, understanding why we are the way that we are right here in this moment, one, that doesn't mean that it doesn't change in the future. But what it does mean is that, man, there's a real understanding, even a compassion for why I think the way that I do, why I'm reacting the way that I do. The compassion does not negate the responsibility. That's really, really important. Just understanding, well, this is the way that I am, does not mean it's okay to stay that way. Radical responsibility means that we look in the mirror, we afford compassion for why we are showing up the way that we are, and then we take responsibility to change it. Knowing is this whole concept that when we really know something, we cannot help but go and take action accordingly. There's this biblical story of a man who is digging in a field and he finds hidden treasure. And he's like, "Oh my, like what the heck?" Okay, and then he goes and sells everything he owns, goes and buys the field. That's like knowing. If we really truly know that that hidden treasure is there, we will then go and take action to sell everything we have to go and purchase that field. But do we really know it if we find the treasure and then we're like, "Oh wow, that's nice," and then we leave? That's not actual true knowledge that goes in and permeates the mind, body, soul, spirit. True knowledge impacts every level of analysis, every intelligence, and it causes action. Action is the outpouring. It's the natural I guess you could say it's a natural overflow of knowledge, of knowing. You cannot help but take action and see change in our lives when we truly come to know. Just jumping back here in the chat. Jay, good morning. Good to see you. Rob Vine says it's hard to be emotional with help. Who do I go to? Rob Vine, I saw you said yesterday, I saw this after the show was done. You said I think you said you do one-to-one videos. So I wanted to tell you guys, one, I say in the middle. I'm in the early stages of developing a digital course. And this is honestly, it's for my own sake. Writing my book was so helpful for me to build out the frameworks and structure what I believe. I said this yesterday. If you want to really get to know yourself, write a chapter, write a mini book or essay about who you are, what you value, and why. The why is so critical because it goes deeper and deeper and deeper into why do I believe what I believe? Why do I think what I think? Why do I value what I value? And then once we know, then we can impact it can impact and influence the actions of our lives. So Rob Vine, I would love to I really want to support this. So we talked yesterday about this. One, I found journaling was really helpful. That's number one. Number two, going and actually talking to somebody. And I said earlier, like coaches, mentors, counselors. I work one-to-one with people. If you want to, I would love to work with you. That would just be the greatest honor. Three, I really love, and this is something I did as well. I went and put myself in new environments, just picking myself up, putting myself in a place of discomfort. That forces us to almost like take an out of body third party perspective and like look at, oh, how interesting. Like, why am I acting that way? Why am I behaving such? And it also allows for people in very different contexts because they don't know who we are to ask us questions. And that alone helps us to go those layers deep. So those three ways, I think I said a fourth one yesterday, I can't remember, but those three ways have really helped me to access the kind of the recesses of the soul, like the hidden corners. So that's been really helpful to me. Cog, good morning. Nomad says if you had a headache, it's more than likely due to hydration. It's so true I'm so with you. Mr. Martinez, good morning. Thank you so much for joining. Ryan King, hot dog, let's go. Good for you. Neomer, good morning. I'm glad to see you. Yeah, Cog says, I would try anything. Same. I love running. Oh, I love that. I feel we do it to ourselves. Y'all, it's so interesting. There's so much that we do a lot of harm to our own selves just by our thoughts, just by what we choose to think about. I had this person actually that I found that I was starting to become more and more afraid of. This person wasn't even around me. It was the potential of something in the future that they might do. And it was wild. It just felt like these thoughts were haunting me because one, I'm not even around this person. Two, this is something years down the line that could potentially happen that I have no proof actually will. And in one sense, it's kind of insane. That's why I actually love that she uses this word insane and illusions, because there are so many illusions that we will spend time cultivating and thinking about, and it's kind of like meditating on. Like we just are, I'm washing dishes and I'm thinking about what this person might do to me. And it's like, my gosh, like I could exist in freedom right now. I could be orienting these thoughts and maybe creating something new in my mind, maybe for my business or for impact or change in the world. How can I love better? Maybe I listen to a book. Maybe I can be actually growing during this time. If we were to take an audit of our mind, what would we find? And man, isn't that such a worthy question? What would we find if we were to take an audit of our thoughts, of our mind, and what are we meditating on? Because y'all, that is going to effectively come out of us at some point or another. The Gray Tone, good morning. I'm so glad to see you. Jeremy, good morning. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for joining. John Henry, good morning. Thank you. Preston, Fat, good morning. I'm glad you're here. Jubilee, there's a difference between animals and human beings. We can take charge of feelings. What an interesting point, Jubilee, because honestly, if we're not taking charge, we really are in so many ways not doing the very thing that differentiates us from this is where it's interesting with AI coming in. They're coming in and stealing a lot of our jobs. As they should. I mean, they're more reliable. They're they're reliable. They're dependable. They're not going to make mistakes. There's this element of like, okay, you deserve it. But that is on the IQ side. Us being able to actually engage on an emotional level truly is what makes us human indeed. But we don't know how to do that. And we're learning. Like that's literally one of the things that we're working on learning here on the show, bringing in guests, learning from each other on, man, what is working for you? What has brought you mental freedom? What has brought you mental freedom? And actually, I'd love to know that. Y'all, if you're willing, let's take a few minutes and put here in the chat. How do you personally get mentally free? An example of this could be going out and running. Sometimes sometimes the empty spaces, it's the question of, okay, well, what am I filling my mind with? But sometimes these actions of emptying, doing something where we're not getting an input is the time to actually get rid of certain thoughts just by thinking through what's inside. Let me get that out versus taking in something new, like a computer. We're talking about our minds as a computer as an example. Inputs and outputs. Well, in between those is the information processing center. Every single input needs to be processed. So if we're walking around with a funnel filled with inputs that we have yet to process, our outputs are never going to be able to be consistent, reliable, predictable. And so the time that we dedicate to processing those inputs is actually so incredibly important for then us to rely on the outputs of that are the very things that guide our lives. Just looking through here in the chat. Music. Mr. Anderson says music. Oh, I love that. What kind of music do you play, Mr. Anderson? I just got a piano, so I'm excited to start learning. Just a person says, good morning, by the way. I'm mentally free. I just think about dying and then my mind goes blank. Yeah, I feel like that would be a similar case for me too. John Woodpacker, good morning. Mental freedom is not expecting things from people who are never going to be what you want. Wow. The Gray Tone, man. Mental freedom is not expecting things from people who are never going to be what you want. Wow. That is so, so, so wise, the Gray Tone. Word on the street says outputs are recycled. I think I know what you mean, but I'd love to hear more. Honestly, I think that is incredibly profound, and I want to know more of what you're meaning there. Wayne, Fat, I'm so glad you're here, but I would love to hear from you and not troll. So, but I'm so glad that you're here. Please hang on. Um, Archer, good morning. Freedom comes to me when my perceptions fade, Stephen says. Mm. I wonder, is it perceptions fade and are replaced with the truth? It's like your lens through which you see the world is adjusted to, or even just like, let me withhold my perceptions, let me withhold my subjective view and allow for the integrity of what is to manifest. Is that a good way to say it? Um, mm. Tiny Tim, good morning. Preston, you finished work? If you're talking about the event, yes. Yes, they ended last night. Actually, it was so funny. They had an old Hollywood themed night, and I knew everyone was like going to be dressing up fabulous. And I didn't. I just joined the association 2 weeks ago, so I didn't find out until I was here that that was the theme. And and so I was like, well, I don't have any dresses. Everyone literally was wearing like floor length gowns, or they bought like these 20s themed flapper outfits. And so I had a suspicion. I was like, but maybe there will be some people who are like dressing up kind of silly to represent the old Hollywood. And I was like, I'm just going to take a chance. So the only thing I had that could be 1920s was I had hair rollers and I had red lipstick. So I put my hair in these big rollers and I was like, I'm going to be like the crazy little housewife from, the night, or the pinup girl, I guess is the better way to say it. So I like go downstairs, and of course, everyone is in ball gowns, looking beautiful. Literally, they're wearing like black gloves, and everybody looks amazing. And I'm just like in my hair curlers as this, old Hollywood pinup girl. And I've got like my checkered pants on. So that at least looked a little more themed. And it was just so funny. Like, I felt I walked in and was so horrified, but then right away, everybody was like, we love your hair. Like, this is so funny. And everybody got it except this one woman. She comes up to me and she's like, are you not ready yet? I was like, no, I'm ready. This is just my outfit for tonight. And it was so funny. So, to your point, yes, my event is over. My work is done. I just had to share that story. It made me laugh so hard. And it was like, okay, I can either be horrified by this, right? We're talking about our mind. Is our mind going to be the thing that attacks us and shames us for like, oh my gosh, I don't belong? Am I going to go and feed that internal narrative? Or am I going to allow my perceptions to fade, to what you were saying? Just allowing for just the freedom of, this is what I've got and I'm going to go have a great time. And man, y'all, a smile can light up a room rather than walking in. This is where we haven't talked about this in a little bit. David Hawkins wrote a book that I just love. It's called Letting Go. And this book has made a profound impact for me. I think this whole year, I started reading it right after my birthday. And this whole year has actually really kind of been marked by learning to let go. And it has been probably one of the hardest lessons of my life. And he talks about how emotions are assigned, this is his theory, emotions are assigned numerical value. So depending on whatever emotion you're experiencing, you are at that level emotionally. And so, well, I guess you could say even you're just at that numerical level. And so when the lower you go in your emotional state, the lower the number. So if you're in pride, you're at 150. If you're in guilt, you're in 75. If you're in shame, you're at 20. That's the lowest you can go. Apathy is, I think, 100. Like, there's just all these different levels. But the more you actually increase in terms of emotions, those numerical values increase as well. So courage is 200. And joy, I think, is 400. And peace is 600. And love is up there too. And it's just like, man, when we start moving up the levels on an emotional scale, our energy matches that. That's when people are talking about the energy you bring, which sounds very woo. And I've never understood it until I read this book. And I'm like, oh, that's what it means to bring a certain type of energy into a room. Because if I'm bringing shame with me, man, it's like you can tell when somebody has kind of their shoulders slumped, they're small, they're not they're not free. And more often than not, I think it's fair to say, what are you perceiving right now? What are your current perceptions, and how is that attacking your mind and telling you something that's not true about yourself? Or you can be in joy and you've got your shoulders rolled back and you can tell somebody comes up to you and says, "Hello, I'm so glad to meet you." And that energy is so different than that of one in shame. So, y'all, we get to bring an energy with us in every relationship, in every room, in every dynamic, but it is all predicated in the mind and the emotion. It's the right hemisphere, the left hemisphere of the brain. So often is that part of us that's like very logical and organized, and it's really kind of that mental game that we can play with ourselves. Like, what's my mindset? Yet, we cannot ever address our mindset void of the right hemisphere of the brain. That is the nurturing, that's the fostering of the emotional state. And so, with these two hand in hand working in concert together, then we can fully address the power of the mind, because now we're activating both regions. But if we were to only activate the left hemisphere because we shame emotions, well, we're cutting off access to 50% of us, if not more. So if we want to master our mind, we must come to know our emotions and we must come to know our thoughts. For those so often are the very things driving us. And for the most part, apart from conscious intention, they are the very things that were formed and shaped, predicated on these belief systems from decades past. So if we want to update our nervous system, even, our nervous system takes action along with our mind. And frankly, I don't want to go down a whole rabbit trail here. Y'all, our mind so often is actually subservient to our nervous system. So the work that we're doing here every single morning is so important because it helps us take mastery of ourselves and on every level of analysis, so that we are no longer acting in subservience to everyone and everything around us, but we actually are in the driver's seat of our lives. And this perhaps could very well be one of the greatest of all human pursuits. Like I think Socrates said, to know thyself. And it is for the sake of love that we know. It is for the sake of freedom that we know. It is for the sake of creation that we may become co-creators and parts of the greatest creator of all time, that we come to know who we are. Their side of that breeds the action from which we then create. Okay, jump it. Let's see. My computer froze. Okay. Anthony, good morning. Greg, hello. Out there, good morning. Pablo, good morning. I don't know Anita Hawk. I don't know who that is. First one, Lapstone, good morning. All right, hold on one second. I am saving these chats. Okay. Super Freak, good morning. Thank you. Out there, I love jewelry, I will say. Archer, good morning. Howard Lucan, good morning. Oh my goodness. All right, y'all, I am going to jump off. Oh, I love this. Marianne Leonard says, some people need tough love to break habits. Isn't that so true? Man. And in that, isn't that an interesting point on valuing truth to that level, that we're willing to look in the mirror, that we're willing to allow for the truth to be spoken to us. But ultimately, are we willing to allow for us to do the work to be able to see the truth, know the truth, and then take action in regard to the truth? Perez says, can I talk to you about our childhood? I have questions. Absolutely. Y'all, I need to figure out what's the best way to do this. Yeah, let me figure that out. Tomorrow morning, I will be back online. I won't be back on today. I actually am driving. I've got a long drive ahead of me. So I'm driving a lot today, so I won't be on tonight, but I will be back on tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. Um, and I will think through today what is the best way for us to kind of get connected beyond this. And then we'll go from there. American Redneck, I'm so glad you're here. It's been so long. Oh, yay. Dre World, good morning. Rasic, good morning. Nick, good morning. Y'all, thank you so much for joining. I will see you tomorrow. And have a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope that this really encourages all of us to take real action as it pertains to our minds and to be the ones in the driver's seat of what we think, how we feel even, and just know that we've got so much ability to be used by God to love this world, to co-create with him, to we get to choose how we're going to show up, who we're going to be. But it's all predicated on the truth of what we believe in the first place, because our actions are a mirror of our internal world. So with that, have a wonderful day. I will see you all tomorrow.